Reading with your kids.
Coming at you from the Reedville neighborhood of the beautiful city of Boston, Massachusetts. This is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Hi, my name is Jedley. We are so very happy that you are joining us today. You could say that our hearts are filled with joy. Our guest today is the author of a beautiful book called Designed To Shine. Her name is Joy Resor. Before we welcome Joy to the show, I need to take a minute to tell you about a fantastic time I had at St. Bernard's School in Enfield, Connecticut. I was invited there to present my educational magic show, We Choose Respect. We Choose Respect uses magic, illusions, stories, and lots of laugh to inspire kids to always choose to be respectful of themselves and of everyone they meet. The kids at St. Bernard's School were just so much fun. There was this one guy, Lester, who came up and helped me tell a story. And everybody just had a great time. And we all left inspired to really want to work together to make the world a better, more respectful place. I would love to have the opportunity to share this show with the kids in your community, with your kid. Now, I know the chances are you're not the person who makes the decisions as to what kind of enrichment programs go to your kid's school or your grandkid's school, but you know the people who do make those decisions, the guidance counselor, the principal, the folks in the PTA or the Home and School Association. If you would take a minute to visit jedley.com, find out a little bit more about the show, We Choose Respect, and share that information with those people, well, I would be incredibly grateful, and they'd be really grateful too, because they have so much going on. The name of the show, again, is We Choose Respect, and you can find out more at my website, jedley.com, Jedlie, jedley.com. Joining us right now from Brevard, right outside of Asheville in North Carolina, she is the author of a beautiful book called Designed To Shine. Please welcome to the show, Joy Resor. Joy, how are you?
Thank you so much, Jed. I am wonderful.
Very, very happy to have you here today. I'm looking at Joy. She has this huge smile on her face. And talk about an appropriate name. How did your parents know that you would have this joyous spirit when they named you?
That's a great question. I have had people say to me that my soul must have whispered it into their ear to name me Joy because my soul knew I would come into the world to bring a lot of joy. But when I asked my mother, tell me about my name, she said, if you were a boy, you were going to be named Roy. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. With a name like Jed, people always ask me, how did I get that name? And it's quite a boring story. And there's actually 3 or 4 stories, and they're all pretty boring. So we won't bore anybody with them now. But it's interesting. You bring up, we're talking about the fact that you do have this joyous spirit, and there's some people that just seem to have been born with that ability to look at the glass as half full and to always see the rainbow in whatever kind of storm we're going through.
I agree with you, and actually I was an aspect of joy my whole life, even though I had a lot of emotional pain and sadness in the family where I grew up. Bless their hearts, where they squashed my joy. But I have been an optimist my whole life.
That's great. Well, we're here to talk today about Designed to Shine, and this is a beautiful book. And I was telling Joy that here in my home, where it's filled with educators. My wife is an educator. Her best friend is a principal of a school here in Boston. We love reading here. The house is always filled with either teachers or students or just me who loves reading books. So when your book came in, it absolutely caught my eye, and I just browsed through it very, very quickly and loved that there's a poem for every letter of the alphabet. And I thought, what a neat way to introduce kids to the alphabet. And the illustrations were wonderful. And my wife and her best friend also picked it up and started looking at it and agreed. And the book is now in my wife's best friend's school library. So I don't have it with me right now, but it is wonderful. So tell us, I guess that's a great endorsement right there, that, an educator would take a look at and say, I want this in my school. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it and pique some families' interest in bringing it into their family library?
Thank you, Jed. I would love to. I will say that I did not try to write it. Mm-hmm. I wrote in my journal for years a prayer to become the joy I am created to be. And lo and behold, starting in around 2014, books started writing themselves through me. And they would arrive in different ways. And how this rhyming book, one day, it was just an energy that was there. I went to my computer and I wrote attention, the rhyme for attention, for balance, for change, for dance, for energy, forgive. And after about 7 rhymes came through me, I looked at this and I said, oh my gosh, this is a children's book in rhyme that will speak to families. And while I was finishing the book and writing the whole thing, I saw in my mind's eye, families need to occasionally put down their devices and hold their children, and how this book would be a vehicle of, hey, let's read this letter today. Or the child saying, Mom, I want to read about grateful. So it's exciting to me that this is blessing families already. Mm-hmm. It's moving in the world.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We do need to put down our devices, and I know there are some games that are interactive and families can kind of play together, but you're not really together in the sense that we've been together in the past. You're looking at your screen and they're looking at their screen, and you might be playing the same game and interacting with each other on the screen, but you're not interacting with each other in the world. You're not looking into each other's eyes. And that's the eyes. Looking into somebody's eyes is so important. It makes such a deep connection. I mean, there are times where you can just look into each other's eyes and not even say anything, but communicate a whole lot.
Exactly. And I have healed into this deep sense. What you're speaking of, Jed, I believe is presence. Mm-hmm. When we are not living in our heads and we are not living with our faces in a device, but we are actually with another person with a deep sense of presence, that is a gift to all of us.
It absolutely is. I love that idea that being present with each other is a gift. And, we talk here on the show about being present with your kids, and reading with your kids is a wonderful way of being present with your kids. And I tell this to parents all the time who tell me they're so busy, they got so much going on, it's really hard to find that, carve out that 20 minutes a day or half an hour a day or whatever it is. And then I remind them that, you're doing something great for your kids, and that's really important, but you have to remember that you're also doing something great for yourself. You're not only giving your kids a gift, you're giving yourself a gift.
Yes. I was reflecting on my history. I have 2 grown sons. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about the treasured times I shared with them with books. Mm-hmm. They were in my lap, or they were next to me on their bed, or next to me on the couch, or we were sitting on the floor. And these live in me as some of the beautiful ways I spent time with my sons, where it was beyond running here and running there and doing this, but it was being with them.
Yeah, so really, really important. One of the things I wanted to touch base on after you're, going through, telling us about the process of how the book came to you, and your mission is to kind of spread joy. And one of the things you were talking about, you wrote a poem for the word forgiveness and forgive. And can you talk a little bit about how when we forgive, when we teach our kids how to forgive, we're actually teaching them a way to bring more joy into their lives?
Yes, Jed, that is a beautiful way to say that. Because forgiveness, when we forgive another person, we are freeing ourselves up to feel better. Actually, I have the book near me. Would you like me to read that poem?
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you. Okay. Forgive. Did you make a mistake? It's easy to do. Did you trip your hyena or paint his face blue? Did you spray sis with a hose or skip with a skunk? End up in trouble? Feel all in a funk? No problem. No issue. No worry. No harm. The best thing to do is to sound no alarm. But calm yourself down. Love who you are. Say that you're sorry out loud to the stars.
That's such an important lesson for us to, and you reminded me of another aspect of forgiveness. Not only is it really important for our kids to be able to forgive others, it's really important for them to learn how to forgive themselves.
Oh, exactly. And I am a poster child, I think, for a lot of things, but I was, for a long time, I was a perfectionist, and I was so hard on myself. And I used to think, if XYZ happened, how would I ever forgive myself? And the thing is, I have changed and grown and evolved. And now I am so gentle with myself, so that now if I goof, if I make a mistake, have a spill or trip on something, I chuckle. I am so lovely with myself. It makes me laugh that I had a little slip up, because being human is not being a robot or doing everything exactly right.
Yeah. What would you say to the parent? I don't want to use the word tiger parent because that's really it's disrespectful. But what would you say to the parent who really wants their kids to shine and to meet their full potential, which is a wonderful thing, but boy, it can get really old sometimes too.
Yeah. I think my advice, what I've healed into, is this concept called allowing. And allowing is the opposite of pushing another, needing something from another, needing our children to be other than who they are designed to be. And I simply would say, breathe a little more and relax a little more and trust that your child is a beautiful individual who's been given amazing gifts, and you can back off a little bit because those gifts will come through in time as they're meant to.
Yeah. And a lot of times, too, I think we forget about the fact that there a lot of times when we're dealing with a problem and you're just going over it in your head and you just can't make a breakthrough, sometimes the thing you need to do is to kind of walk away from that problem for a minute. And like you said, take a deep breath, maybe walk around the block, do something else. And then when you come back to it, whoa, it's completely different. Maybe that's something we can do with our kids instead of making them play that piano lesson over and over and over again. You can let them stand up, take a little break, get some fresh air, and then come back and try it again.
That gives me goosebumps, Jed. Yes. Yeah, too, because I don't know that much about that kind of parent, but I would say let's loosen up. Mm-hmm. And also on that topic, I have done this, I've been on a long journey to heal into this version of who I am. And my shoulders used to be up near my ears. I was a type A, get her done perfectionistic person. And it's been a journey to not live on adrenaline, to relax. And I've done a lot of body work so that my shoulders aren't up by my ears any longer. But the watchword in me has been release. Just so much that I have released. There actually is a video on my website called Release to Increase Joy. And it has me talking about that, using the letters in release to live into new ways of being in the world. Mm-hmm.
You've used an interesting phrase a number of times. And the phrase is heal into. I've healed into. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Thank you, Jed. Yes, I guess it's so natural for me to use that phrase. Like what people will say, Joy, you are such a joy. And I often would say, thank you. I am grateful that I have healed into this version. So for me, what that means, Jed, is that consciously and unconsciously, I have changed and grown so much. And I think for me, a lot of it was the conscious desire to be a better version of the joy that I know that I am. So that in my 20s, I had wounds that I carried on my back from the rageaholic father and the screaming mother and the sister who told me I didn't belong in the family. And see, I came in and had kind of a family that squashed my joy. And bless those people. I love them now. But my journey has been one of releasing issues, releasing the anger I had towards my father, releasing the angst I had towards my sister. And it's been all these different ways that healing has come to me, which is I have been led, Jed, and listeners, to books, classes, and healers. You know, when a person lives in Western North Carolina, this is a haven for healers. So that would be, I have gone to craniosacral, I have gone to energy healers, I have gone to people that I didn't know what their tools were, but their presence spoke to me so much that I worked with them. And I've released, like ancestral angst that lived inside me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, that was an energetic clearing that I had, and that was one of the large healings that I was given in my life.
Mm. Fascinating. And again, I go back, it's such a wonderful gift that we can give to our kids when we teach them how to deal with some of that anger. I had this experience with my son, who, as I said, he was just married a beautiful young woman, and we're so happy for them. We had such a wonderful time. But middle school was an especially tough time for him for a number of different reasons. He was a target of a bully at one point, and kind of kept that to him. But it seemed like every time there was a point where every time we would sit down to deal with issue A, he would bring up all these things that had happened in the past, and this and that. And finally, I just sat down with him and I said, tomorrow night, you and I are going to have a conversation, and you are going to let me know of every single thing that I have done that has hurt you or bothered you, that you're angry about. You need to deal, and we'll deal with everything. And we'll just get it out on the table, because it's eating you up inside. So we're just going to take that time, sit down, and just bring everything. Take the night, think about it, make a list if you need to, and we'll stay up tomorrow night as long as we need to stay up. But we're just going to get, and there's not going to be any fighting. I just want you to let me know what it is, what you need me to do, and and this is your chance, because I don't want this to, when I asked you to take out the garbage, I don't want to hear about the fact that I gave your sister vanilla ice cream when you wanted it 5 years ago. So we're just going to do it and get on with it and then move on. And it was so incredibly helpful. And, honestly, I think part of it was just, let's just deal with this kid and get it over with. And, we kind of called on him some manipulation. But it was also just the fact of recognizing to my son that, hey, life's been kind of tough, and you've had some tough times, so let's deal with it. Let's get it over with, and let's put it in the past and move forward.
Oh, gosh, that gave me such goosebumps, Jed. You gave your son such a beautiful gift of really hearing him and allowing him to let go of what he had been holding. Mm-hmm. And that is beautiful.
Yeah. Well, and I'll be honest with you, Joy. I agree. It was a wonderful thing that we gave to my son. It was just as wonderful a thing that we gave to ourselves, because I tell you, life in the house was so much better after that.
Oh, yes. But that brings up in me this idea of being direct. Mm-hmm. And that I've had this conversation with a number of people lately. And in fact, yesterday with a girlfriend, she and I had a play date in Asheville to go to a number of vintage and antique stores and look around and browse around. And she said that she is finally speaking more for herself. And we talked about that idea. But I think there is something culturally about holding things in, and possibly in her case, she said, I was always tiptoeing around other people, trying to speak in ways that wouldn't hurt them. And she said, I'm finally learning that simply speaking with kindness of what I need and what they could do that would make my something better, it's working very well for me. Mm-hmm. And I said, yes, this is what I have learned. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I believe it's being direct, and it's being authentically who we are that blesses everybody around us.
Yeah, absolutely. Imagine how different the world would be if we were all able to do that, not only individually, but culturally. Just think of, all the, the conflicts in the Middle East are centuries old, and folks are still fighting about things that were being fought, as I said, centuries ago. And it just, at some point, we have to make the decision to let go of those hurts.
Yeah. Amen, brother. Yes. Yes. Because, and I think that there is more of this happening. I was born optimistic, and I'm highly optimistic that the world is moving in a better direction, that people are living more in the now and letting go of old things that aren't beneficial. Yeah. And hopefully my book, Designed to Shine, can be a tool for families to have conversations, to be more direct with one another. Because, if your family is reading a rhyme with you about kindness, and the mother happens to be talking in a very negative way to her sister, it's going to bring, I think that I never wrote this book on purpose. It simply arrived to me. And I believe that it will have a different effect in every family. And I do know that my little sister, my family was a rather, I feel, dysfunctional family. The door slamming, the yelling, the people weren't talking with each other. We needed to eat dinner with the news on, the NBC News, Chet Huntley and David Brinkley back in the 60s. But my little sister, I asked her if she wanted this book, and I sent it to her. She was so grateful, and she said that her whole family, she has children like ages 21 or 22 to, well, anyway, they're in their 20s. She said, my whole family loved this book.
Wonderful.
And yes, and I'm not privy to the issues perhaps in their home, but the fact that she felt it really was a beneficial book for their family.
Yeah.
So I believe it will have healing. It has healing properties.
Absolutely. And the neat thing about the book, it is an alphabet book. It's not a book that a family could sit down and read it in one extended sitting. But I don't think it's necessarily meant to be read from cover to cover or even in order from A to Z. The headings are very clear. And I think families can sit down and if you want to talk about gratitude, then just pick that poem up there and read that rhyme and start talking about it, start having a conversation about gratitude or forgiveness or energy or whatever it may be.
Exactly. And that's how I imagine this book would be used, and I say that in the foreword, however you use it. If you have a child with you, if you simply desire this for your inner child, because many adults are buying the book for themselves. This book is healing their inner children. I have goosebumps again. I don't know the magic or the mystery of books that write themselves through me. I simply am a vessel to receive them, and I'm a very happy, grateful, joyful, peaceful, loving vessel to receive these books. Jed, did you know? Well, I'm thinking you didn't read the afterword.
No.
To know that there is a sequel. Book 2 also came through in the winter of 2017. So there is a second volume that will be coming out this year with a whole nother alphabetical, topical book. So where this one is attention, balance, change, dance, the second volume is amaze, believe, create, dream. I'm unbelievably happy because I I don't know if anyone relates, that you feel like you have creative wounds. Wounds where you are not drawing or singing or painting or dancing, but I had in my past deep creative wounds. So the fact that books are now coming through me to bless where they bless, it's just such a joy to me.
Well, that is absolutely wonderful. You know, as you're speaking, I'm thinking your books. You named it "Designed to Shine." You could have named it the Encyclopedia of Joy. But you're the author, and Designed to Shine is a much better title. Tell everybody your website so they can not only find out more about Designed to Shine and more about you, but also make sure that they're the first to be informed when the new book arrives.
Thank you, Jed. Yes, my website is joyonyourshoulders.com. You're invited to sign up for my monthly newsletter, which is an inspirational newsletter once a month. And then you surely would find out when the volume 2 will come out, or check into my website when you want to. And on Facebook, people could, there's a Joy on Your Shoulders page that you could like.
Awesome. Well, the name of the book we've been talking about a whole lot of things today, but the name of the book that started this wonderful conversation is Designed to Shine. And you can find out more about Designed to Shine at joyonyourshoulders.com. And you can also find out more about our wonderful guest, Joy Resor. Joy, thank you so much for being part of our show today.
Thank you, Jed, so much for inviting me. It's been wonderful.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be the author of Yoga for Children. Her name is Heather Leah. Heather Leah will be here. We hope you will be here too. Hey, I want to thank Joy Resor for joining us here today. And of course, we want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Thank you so much for all of the joy that you bring to your children when you cook with them, when you exercise with them, when you drive them to school or to soccer or to ballet. And of course, thank you so much for all the joy you bring to your kids' lives when you read with your kids. I'll be looking to the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.